Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Meta Business Careers Day with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. I am Jessica Herrera and I am the Development Manager here at HHF. We are thrilled to have been working with Meta for the past 5 years by providing top Latino talent through our Love Source program. We kicked off our relationship through their innovative Sourcer Development Program in 2017, where we source talent from our network to be considered for hiring roles in their HR department. The thought behind the program was to have diverse talent and people of color in hiring positions that look like our community. Fast forward to today, we learn and we hear from recruiters at Meta, where we will learn more about just some of their open career opportunities in business, tech, and global operations, Meta Business Group, consumer marketing, realty, reality labs marketing, and CoreBiz. We will have resume workshop, back-to-back open role presentations, and team overviews, followed by a Q&A session. We encourage the audience to ask any question in the Q&A feature. Please make sure to set the questions to everyone so that everyone can see the questions being asked and the answers to those questions as well, of course. So now let's get started. For the resume workshop, we will hear from Meta's own Emily Lovelace, who is a sourcer, R4R, and Katie Ambrose, recruiter creative. Take it away, Emily and Katie.
Hi, everybody. So excited to be here. My name's Emily Lovelace. I am a sourcer here at Meta, which just means that I have the amazing privilege of both finding great candidates and working with them through the initial stages of the recruitment process. Currently, I support our R4R organization, which just means that I recruit for recruiters here, and I will kick it over to Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Ambrose. I am a recruiter here at Meta. I've been here about 4.5 years, and I sit in New York supporting some of our creative teams on both the business marketing and consumer marketing sides of the house. And as a recruiter, I get to partner with sourcers like Emily, who do the amazing work of finding so many great folks for our roles. And then I work a lot with our clients or our business partners to make sure that we have candidates moving through the process in a timely manner. And I take people through offer stage and things like that. So sort of the second half of the process. Thanks. Awesome. So we wanted to start off the resume workshop by really diving into sort of what is the purpose of a resume and making sure that we just give this high level overview as a starting point. So in terms of the purpose of a resume and what you want to accomplish with your resume, it's really meant to be sort of a starting point or jumping off point or a launch pad for a conversation that you will then hopefully get to have with a sourcer, recruiter, manager, et cetera. So within your resume, you really want to make sure that you're removing assumptions and helping to connect dots for the person who is viewing your resume, sort of taking control of the narrative of your experience and making sure that you're telling the story in a way through the things that you're listing on your resume of the experiences you've had, the projects you've worked on, the things you're passionate about being part of, et cetera. So as you're listing out and showcasing your experience, making sure that, again, you're sort of, you have a common thread throughout and that you're connecting the dots between here's what I did first, and then I use these transferable skills to move into this role and then into this role, and here's what I learned moving forward. So just making sure that you're really painting that picture of your experience and background, incorporating in a succinct way details that are really helpful for the sourcer and or recruiter to pull from in determining if you're a match for the position. In addition to your experiences, it's also really helpful to make sure you're including sort of those tangential things like projects you've worked on, other your education, of course, but also other trainings or certifications that you've received that are relevant to your field. Other skills in terms of your soft skills, how you work with people, cross-functional partnerships, languages that you may speak, and then also just, adding in projects that are important to you. So if you're an adjunct professor somewhere and that's really important to you, or if you have an entrepreneurial streak and you've had a couple of attempts at a business, adding things like that kind of give color around who you are as a person. In terms of the other things on your resume, obviously including your contact information, basic contact information, phone number, email, general location, New York, for example. And always putting your LinkedIn on there is super duper helpful, as well as a portfolio if that's relevant to your area of work. And that is the high level overview. I'm going to kick it to Emily for our next slide.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. So we've listed a couple of really awesome tips and tricks here. First is obviously relevant to showcasing your experience. So of course, we want you to tell all the amazing things that you've done in each role, but we also want you to go a step further, right? So when you're showcasing your experience, it's important to highlight what you've done in each role, what you've accomplished, and what that impact has led to in that certain organization or job. It's also really important to have that active voice, right? We want to give that audience the feeling of impact, right? And so we do that through utilizing verbs like designed, implemented, led, drove, right? That really give that impactful connotation. We also think it's really important to focus on that impact through a data-driven lens, right? So if there's any metrics, KPIs, anything that we can list here, very important. And then we also think it's important to be your own advocate, right? This is your experience that you're speaking about. So it's really important to be your own advocate, go out there on LinkedIn and other professional sites and build that professional network, right? We want you to list those achievements, those amazing projects that Katie mentioned that you've done. And of course, leveraging those impacts and results that I previously discussed. Also, it's really important to update your LinkedIn, along the way. I always tell people that this is your living resume, right? So we want to be updating our LinkedIn with all the amazing things that you're doing in your career journey as well. The next is going to be related to resume formatting. Obviously, this first bullet point seems very simple, but we had to list it because it's so important. We want to make sure that you're doing a quick spell check, a quick grammar check, and even punctuation check for your written work. And also, we want you to keep those bullet points when you're describing your experience really informative, but also very succinct. We want it to be easily digestible to that reader, right? And so keeping them informative while also succinct is really important here. We also think it's really important to create multiple versions of your written body of work. So if there is an additional cover letter that's necessary, or maybe a nuance to the application process, because every job and company is slightly different, making sure that you're tailoring it to that specific application. It's also important to keep everything very clear, concise, well organized, being well aware of those margins, making sure it's, again, very digestible to that reader, and removing any additional information that isn't relevant to that specific job. Finally, and most importantly, keeping it in chronological order, right? We want to make sure that that most recent experience is at the top of the page for us as recruiters and sourcers. This is kind of our jumping off point, as it allows us to understand what you're currently doing in your job and also any parallels to the job that you applied for. So it's really important to have that in chronological order. Finally, we listed a little quick resume hack here, which is just to keep a little professional summary of what you're doing, why you love what you're doing, and what your expertise is in, as it creates a quick little humanistic quality to that written body of work.
Thank you. Awesome. So in terms of, you've got your resume tight now with all these amazing tips. Thank you, Emily. And so when you're moving on to applying for the job, it is always really important to make sure that you're really reviewing that job description prior to applying, to make sure, first of all, that it really is in line with what you're looking to do. I think sometimes people see a title and sort of hit apply when that position might actually be not at all what you want to do. So just make sure you're taking a good look at that, ensuring it's what you're interested in and that it aligns with your talents, and also making sure that you have the experiences listed in the minimum qualifications. Those are really the things that are key and critical to the position. So it's important that you have those experiences if you're going to apply to that role. And it is a good idea to apply to the role. Sometimes people will reach out to me and say, hey, what roles do you have? And I'm like, they're all listed. You should go check them out. Like, please apply to the role. It really indicates your level of interest in the company, in the position, and making sure that you get your application in is just a really important piece of that process. In addition to applying, and after you apply, a couple of other good things to do are reaching out to people to try to also make that live human connection. So one way to do that is going on LinkedIn and, finding somebody who you think might work in that same team or area of expertise within the company, and just reaching out to them, sort of light touch on LinkedIn and sharing, I'm interested in the company and in your area of work. I've applied to a few positions. I'd love to take 15 minutes of your time just to get a better understanding of your day-to-day and share some of my enthusiasm around this role or what have you. And then, of course, you won't always hear back, but sometimes that's a really impactful way to make a connection or to get in front of the hiring team indirectly. Another good option is reaching out to the recruiter directly or the sourcer. So after you submit your application, if you have the person's LinkedIn information or their email, just shooting them a quick note to say that you've applied and that you're really excited to hear back, maybe a couple quick bullets on why you think you're a great match. Again, keeping it light but informative and just expressing your interest and excitement around the position and the company. And next slide.
Awesome. We wanted to also list a couple of things that hopefully will allow you to demystify the application process. So as Katie mentioned, those minimum qualifications are essentially that minimum threshold of job requirements, years of experience that are essentially deemed necessary for that job. These, however, differ from the preferred qualifications. Those preferred qualifications, I call them the cherry on top. They're those nice to haves. If you're going through that job description and you're seeing that you fit the minimum qualifications, but not necessarily the preferred qualifications, we still recommend that you go forward in applying for that position because those preferred qualifications are definitely something that you can work towards. Obviously, title, I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but we've listed this here because titles vary. And as Katie mentioned, a title might mean something a little bit different depending on company size and, of course, the day-to-day function. So it's really important to go through the job description in full and look at that day-to-day and see if it's exciting to you and if it's relevant to what you want in your next step of your career journey. The next is going to be locations, which are definitely unique in a post-COVID world. Locations have changed quite a bit to fully remote or in even a hybrid capacity. So it's really important to meet with your recruiter and have those logistical conversations regarding, what that hybrid capacity looks like, what that fully remote capacity looks like in the job that you're applying for, just to have and make sure that you can fulfill those requirements. The next is going through a referral bucket versus actually just directly applying for a job on that careers page. Going through a referral, as Katie mentioned, could be that soft connection of maybe somebody that you previously worked with or even a previous manager that you've had, and having that soft connection through the application process versus directly applying. Both are amazing and hopefully will get you to that end career that you're looking towards. But of course, if you have that referral connection, we definitely advise that you go through that process because you'll have an advocate throughout the application process and might get some insider information into the company culture and day-to-day as well.
Super true. Thank you. Next slide. Awesome. So lots going on here, but we wanted to give you a little bit more of a peek into our interview process here at Meta, since a lot of people tend to have questions about that. And I'll also highlight a little bit around the sourcer versus recruiter sort of parts of the process and where we get involved. So the first step is the resume review. That's really where our sourcer in most cases is taking a look at different resumes from both applicants as well as people that they've found on different channels like LinkedIn, for example, and really taking a look at the resume and figuring out if this person has the minimum qualifications that we're seeking for the position, if they're a match for the role, et cetera. Once they reviewed the resume thoroughly, they would then reach out and attempt to set up a pre-screen call. And I know that this says recruiter pre-screen call, but generally this is also our sourcer who is having this conversation, this initial conversation live with the candidate, sharing a bit more about the team, the position, the company, and understanding a bit more about the person's experience, digging a little deeper into any areas that might be super relevant or important. And if all goes well with that conversation and it is a match on both sides, then the sourcer would put the candidate through to a hiring manager screen or phone interview, where that candidate would get to speak again a bit more deeply about the role, team, day-to-day, vision for the role, et cetera, with the hiring manager, which is usually the person that they would be reporting to directly. Once that part of the process has finished, we would move on to what we call the on-site stage, which these days, of course, is virtual, but sort of a deeper interview with more members of the team. And it's usually at this point that the recruiter would pick up, that we work with the sourcer very closely, but would make sure that the sourcer is then handing off or introducing us to that candidate to take them the rest of the way through the process, starting at on-site. With the on-site interview or virtual quote unquote on-site interview. This can vary by team. It often incorporates a presentation component showcasing your work. Sometimes there's a pitch showing how you sell. Sometimes there's a hack showing how you think, et cetera. So sometimes there's one of those types of more presentation or exercise components, in addition to a loop, which is sort of a mix of usually 3 to 4 interviews, one-on-one with different members of the team, discussing various aspects of your past experiences. Some positions only have a loop and don't have a presentation, but just trying to give the full spectrum. It does vary by team. After the on-site interview, we obviously have the team submit feedback. We make sure that they submit feedback in a timely manner while it's fresh in their minds, and that they're really submitting feedback against objective criteria to try to mitigate any bias that might creep into the process, as is always the case with people. We are innately biased at times. So making sure we're trying to mitigate for that as much as possible. And after feedback is submitted and we've completed the interview process with all the candidates who matched the position that the team was interested in, then we would have a debrief and make sure that we're discussing the merits of each candidate, getting a really clear understanding of who is the best match for that position, and then moving forward to offer stage, the best part. That's a quick sense of our general interview process at Meta. We can flip to the next slide.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Well, we wanted to leave you with a couple of quick LinkedIn hacks as well that will hopefully allow your profile to stand out and allow you to stand out confidently and comfortably. The first is going to be to add a photo. You know, you have this incredible experience that you have listed on your LinkedIn, but we want to see, you know, who you are and add that human element, right? Doesn't have to be fancy. I think my photo was taken by my partner through my cell phone, so it could just be as simple as that. But please be sure to add that photo to that amazing body of work that you have on your LinkedIn. The next is to add a quick little headline. We want to make sure that you're being creative, telling the network what you've done and what you're currently doing. We also think it's really important to add that summary component. So again, being authentic, using that active voice that we discussed previously, describe what motivates you, what you're skilled at, and what's next for you in your career journey. This is also a great place if you have technical proficiencies to add them in here, as it's super helpful to kind of get that full picture of your skill set. Finally, in your experience, it's really, really, really important to list out exactly what you've done. It allows us as sourcers and recruiters to get that signal based off of the projects, the day-to-day that you've led, and also any specific KPIs or metrics that you have worked into your experience. We also think it's important, obviously, to add your education. Going a step further, adding any additional internships, summer programs, or projects, you can also include these here. And then finally, add in those additional awards, right? As Katie mentioned, sometimes people have incredible experience within, you know, hackathons, maybe projects, organizations, honors, awards programs. So go ahead and add that additional experience in here as well, so we can get that full picture of your amazing experience.
I think we're going to talk through some meta opportunities based on this content right here. I think we can probably move to the next slide to figure out who's the next person chatting about specific opportunities. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It looks like that's actually me. Lucky me. My name is Ketty Leach. I am a sourcer here for Meta. August will mark my 7-year Metaversary, which blows my mind, and I've been supporting the legal team ever since. I've listed here for us a breakdown of some of the example roles that we have, but if you go on our career site and you look under the legal category, you will see hundreds of roles, and I want to flag that they're not all just attorney roles. We do hire non-attorney roles as well. Location-wise, I want to flag that it can vary. Some are remote and some might have specific locations tied in. Up top, I've listed the different labels or titles that you might see and kind of demystifying those just a bit. Our counsel roles are what we would deem maybe our more junior roles. Those are 3 or more years of practicing attorney experience. We have our lead counsel, which is that mid-range, which is 5 or more years of experience. Our associate general counsels are that more senior position or 8 or more years of practicing attorney experience. And then from there on, we have our directors, and we do have those roles all posted. Kind of subset wise, privacy is definitely our hotspot right now. You can't have a product here at Meta without involving privacy. So we have different counsel level roles, we have AGC level roles, we have roles supporting privacy programs. We also have very standard commercial roles. So if you're a drafter or negotiator and that's your happy place, would love to have you apply for those. Our product roles involve advising and counseling engineers and product teams around issue spotting and helping to mitigate issues before they arise. Our reality labs is a really hot spot as well. That is anything and everything supporting our AR, VR space. So metaverse is certainly top of mind for us right now. So the RL space is definitely exploding. So if that's a passion area of yours, definitely check out our reality labs openings. Litigation, pretty standard attorney role if you like to defend, or on the plaintiff side, it's a great opportunity there. Building out compliance programs, our governance programs, our labor and employment space. So that's, the attorneys that are there to support our employees, making sure that we're safe, protected, feel good, have all the great benefits that we have and perks. And then I did list a couple of our non-attorney roles just to highlight them. We have our incident response team analyst role out there right now. It's a really interesting role, has the opportunity to partner with law enforcement, kind of receive outreach and just keep our users safe, our billions of users safe. And then we have some privacy. I saw a lot of project managers and program managers posting in the chat. And so if privacy is a appetizing space of yours, we do have program management opportunities helping build out these amazing, robust programs. If you have any questions around the legal space, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. Again, I'm Ketty Leach, and I'm happy to pass it on to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Mora, and I'm a recruiter that has been supporting consumer marketing for both Meta and Reality Labs, and I've been with the company for almost 6 years now. A little bit more about consumer marketing, just kind of high level, is this team launches the products that you, the consumer, see in terms of campaigns and advertisements. So the list on this slide shows positions that we kind of typically hire for and currently have open within our marketing organization, and the opportunities can kind of be pretty broad. So I'm going to just walk through a couple in more detail to provide just a little bit more insight there. So our product marketing managers is one of the more common profiles that we hire. What they do is they understand what the consumer needs are, and they help influence the product and own the positioning, the messaging, and the branding of a product or a campaign. Our integrated marketing managers kind of touch on that as well, but they work to understand the metrics and share the impact and overall narrative of the impact versus the budget that we spend for campaigns and initiatives there. We also have a variety of different marketing managers. Those roles implement, manage, and oversee the strategies for those specific channels. So for example, for social, for web, or digital. We also have a variety of creative positions. Our creative teams drive the creative vision for our brands and how they're perceived in the world. So a lot of the video, illustration, even like the brand icons, like all of that stuff is worked on by our creative teams that are super, super talented. For marketing positions, we usually look for individuals that have worked on consumer-facing brands and have experience influencing a product roadmap and working on external-facing campaigns. For creative positions, we usually look for individuals that have experience at an agency or in-house at a company, and they have worked on integrated campaigns across multiple channels. So that could be, social, video, print, events. For example, there. Most of the opportunities that we target are mid-level to senior level in experience, but our careers page kind of has the most up-to-date information on what we currently have open. And we do offer both in-office, hybrid, and remote positions, but on our careers page, under this specific job opportunity, it'll have the details specifically for that role in terms of location. But if you have any other questions around marketing positions specifically, you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you, Christina. And as she just mentioned, if you have any questions, please feel free to also submit them in the Q&A window. We do have the recruiters answering questions live. And for those who aren't answered, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So please take advantage while we have the recruiters online. And I did want to mention that we have been collecting resumes prior to the event, but if you have not done so already, would you please make sure to submit your resume to the link that we will send post-event. And additionally, if you would like to update your resume after hearing the resume presentation, please use the same link to update. We will be sending the resumes to Meta by Wednesday of next week. So please make sure we have all the resumes by then. And up next, you'll hear from Monique Aguirre, who is a recruiter, global operations, who will be going over global operation roles.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. First off, to the Hispanic Heritage Foundation for having us all here today. I'm super excited to be here, and I see some people that I've connected with on LinkedIn, so it's good to see you guys. If I haven't connected with you on LinkedIn, I would love to, so please feel free to add me after our session today. But yes, I'm a recruiter here at Global Operations Division for Meta. I've been at Meta for a little over 2 years now, so definitely enjoying the work and getting to work with amazing candidates like yourself. What is global operations? I know that's such a broad term, but basically, if you think about all of our products like Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Reality Labs, which includes some of our like AR, VR work, there's kind of all of the behind the scenes of making sure that all of the products that we put out to the market, one, run smoothly, and two, are meeting our community guidelines and standards that we've promised users like yourself or anyone that's a user of those products. So things include like our data operations team. Typically, we do hire for a lot of project managers and program managers as well. So data operations, this could include product integrity. So really diving into kind of the integrity laws, whether that's here in North America or working with partners in other parts of the world. Also risk management and intelligence, that's another great area in terms of just ensuring that, before we go to market, all of these products are up to these certain standards. What's great about global operations as well is that you also get to work with a lot of cross-functional partners within Meta, as well as external vendors. So if you're somebody that likes to communicate and work with a lot of different functions and make sure that your work is interesting all the time, then I think you would love working in global ops personally. And if you are a Spanish speaker, we actually have an operations manager for risk prevention role that works with our LATAM division as well. So again, as some of our other recruiters and sourcers have highlighted, this is just a small snapshot of the roles that we have open in global ops, mid to senior level as well. And we are open, all of our global ops roles are open remotely. So if you're sitting in a different part of the US, definitely open to reviewing your resume. So yeah, thank you again for having me and look forward to taking your questions later.
Thank you, Monique, and thank you so much for sharing an overview and just the great opportunities and benefits for these roles. We will now hear from Sophia Vega, who is a sourcer, PSO, who will be sharing product and service operation opportunities at Meta. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Like she said, my name is Sophia Vega. I'm a sourcer on the PSO team, which stands for Product and Service Operations. I currently sit in the Chicago office, and I've been in my current role for about a year, but I've been with Meta overall for a little bit under 3 years now. So the PSO org at Meta stands for Product and Service Operations, and PSO's mission is to build a service engine that solves today's customer problems and prevents tomorrow's. The PSO team combines their expertise in our products with operational and analytical skills to design and manage scalable support processes. So our roles encompass support operations, vendor ops, customer experience, and influencing products. On one side, if you look at the first 3 roles listed, we have the technical troubleshooting and data side of PSO. So our business product specialists and technical solutions consultants focus on support operations, and they troubleshoot product and ad tech issues. Then the data quality team drives the completeness and accuracy of customer identification at Meta, and they're working to optimize workflows to become more proactive in their goal of cleaning up data. And then if you look at the next ones listed, we've got new products and customer journey or customer experience roles. So these roles influence products by keeping our customers top of mind and translating feedback from customers into the products that we're improving and creating. And then I don't have this listed here, but we also have the vendor ops side of PISO, which encompasses vendor management, workforce management, and knowledge management. So those are some other opportunities within PISO. Backgrounds that tend to succeed in these roles vary based on the specific role, of course, but a high-level overview typically includes program manager backgrounds, consultants, customer experience, support operations, product managers, product operations, ad tech, product or technical support, and vendor operations. So I know I listed a ton, which is kind of nice that so many different backgrounds can fit in really well with these different roles here. So that's a little bit of an overview. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you think any of these areas sound like something you could be interested in, and hopefully I'll see some of your resumes come through our system.
Thank you so much, Sophia. And up next, we have, drum roll. Up next, we have Dana Kelly, who is a recruiter, admin, and FCS, and will highlight some of their open administrative facilities, culinary, and security roles.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, everyone. I'm Dana. I'm a recruiter on our admin and FCS team. FCS stands for the facilities, culinary, and security. I focus heavily on the admin side. I've been recruiting administrative professionals for 8 years now, but I've been at Meta almost a year, coming up on my Metaversary here. For our administrative roles, we hire a wide range of experience levels, from our administrative specialists, which require only a minimum of 2 years of experience, all the way up to our executive administrative partners, which require anywhere from 4+ or 5+ years of experience. These roles can be supporting leaders across the company, from our core business teams to our technical teams. We even have roles with Metaverse and Reality Labs teams, so you can really get a full picture of the company there. We also offer our positions across the country. So we have on-site roles, we have hybrid roles, and we even have remote roles, just depending on the team and what they're looking for in their admin. When we're talking about experience for these roles, we are really focusing mainly on a candidate's past experience in direct support, and that's going to include calendar management, travel coordination, and expense reporting. So if you're applying for these roles, it's very important to make sure your resume clearly shows how you meet those minimum qualifications, as you heard in our earlier part of the presentation, because those are going to focus heavily on these items. We move very quickly at Meta. It's one of our values. So being able to also show the pace and the scale of your experience is really helpful. So how many leaders have you been supporting? What is the team size? How many meetings per day are you scheduling? Having answers to those types of questions will really help us understand the scope of your experience. And then on the facilities, culinary, and security side, I don't focus heavily here, but I have a few opportunities here that we do hire for regularly. And we hire culinary, we hire chefs, we hire global area security managers, a few different types of security positions. Right now, we do have open a facilities operations manager, which you can see linked to here. This role is going to manage and work on operations, relocation, expansion, and renovation projects across the Pacific Northwest region. So they'll manage multiple campuses and locations that exceed 3 million square foot, and lots of exciting growth ahead. So we do have those types of roles available as well, but our administrative roles, we have a ton open all the time. So definitely check them out, apply through our careers website, and link up with me on LinkedIn if you are interested. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dana. And next we will hear from Joe Brankovic, who is a sourcer, finance and accounting, and will share some of Meta's open finance and accounting roles.
Hello all, I'm Joe. I've been with Meta for just under 3 years, and me and my team, which is about 20 people strong between sources and recruiters, we support every role that ultimately rolls into our chief finance officer, David Wayner. And as you can see here, and I'll go over these roles, we hire for a broad range of skills and experiences. Another thing that I will say, there are certain titles that are very common industry-wise that Meta treats a little differently. So you will very often see a senior finance manager role and title in other companies. However, we as a company do not use words like senior in any of our titles. So strong recommendation to always go off of minimum requirements. Those will be the best signal in terms of the level of the role that we're hiring for. And some of the roles that we are hiring for now and have open, obviously finance planning and analysis, FP&A for short. And we have 4 main titles that you'll see there that kind of range through level of seniority, if you will. So we have our analysts, associates, and then we have managers. After that, we go into the director territory, which is handled by a different team. We also hire for all accounting functions, both technical and operational. And since we also need to have a solid infrastructure for our finance and accounting teams to operate, that's where we hire our finance and accounting operations professionals. Again, they're making sure that we have everything we need to be able to do our work. And then we do hire for internal audit function as well. We do have external auditors. We work with Big Four. However, we have our internal auditing team as well, and they work on both technical aspects of audit as well as non-technical. And another role, I guess, family of roles that we hire for a lot is within our source to pay function, falling under accounting. So everything that has to do with supply chain, procurement, source to pay world is also under finance and accounting. I will say there are 2 more areas that we hire for that I haven't listed here just because those teams tend to run a little leaner. So we don't have those roles open all the time, but tax and investor relations are also under finance and accounting. So that should be it. That should cover it.
Thank you, Joe. And lastly, we'll hear from Kiki Brabi, Sourcer Partnerships, who will be going over partnership opportunities.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiki. As mentioned, I have been with Meta a little over, well, a few months. Like I think I will be at my 1 year in October. Feels like it's been forever. We're doing a lot of great things here at Meta, so super excited to be here. So a little bit about the partnerships team. Our new name, we actually changed names this year. So our new name is now the Meta Content and Community Partnerships team. The mission of this team is to empower partners to create the future of content, community, and culture across Meta. What that basically means, this partnerships team, we're at the core intersection between products and partners. So external partners, we build a lot of the relationships to help a lot of our partners deliver products that they need to help stay connected and then also succeed within their businesses. So we're typically, ultimately, your org that's external facing, that handles all business activities that is external to like different audiences. So like a lot of the audiences that we work with can be anywhere from news publishers to mobile operators to emerging creators to non-for-profits and more to help them drive value while also bringing our products and services to life. So some of the roles that we typically hire for, very common roles, are partner solutions manager, which is our PSM role, partner product marketing, which is our PPM, program managers, business development manager, and strategic partner manager. Just for the sake of time, I will just touch on 2. So first one being the strategic partner manager role. This person ultimately is the link between the needs of our partners and the capabilities that can be built into the product. So the SPM is usually responsible for developing, managing, and maintaining important relationships with our key partners. And then the other one being the business development manager, which I know externally, it is a very common role within sales. So this person ultimately is strategizing and executing partnership strategies for Meta while negotiating both externally and internally to close contracts and run full cycle deals for our partnerships team. So the roles vary. We have like a lot of like creative roles. There is a ton of roles, but just for the sake of time, couldn't put all of this on the slide. So if you guys are in that space, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Most of these roles varies with years of experience, starting at about 5 years or more. But again, I'm happy to connect live or one-on-one on LinkedIn if you guys have any questions.
Thank you so much, Kiki. And we will have Monique Aguirre present other opportunities. So I'll let Monique take away.
Hi guys, I'm back again. Thank you. And thank you to all of our speakers, such a great opportunities. So the source of truth, I think all of our speakers have mentioned, is just being able to go on metacareers.com and see a full list. What's great about our career site is that you can filter down by area of work that you're interested in. If you're interested in working in a remote role, you can also filter by that. On metacareers.com, we also have some great blog posts, some summaries about a lot of the areas of work that you heard about today. Some of the ones we didn't get a chance to touch on include HR, policy and comms, client partners, client solution managers. So like working with other brands and companies that Meta, connects with and helps. We have a lot of initiatives around working with small businesses. Big initiatives around that. So I definitely recommend checking out MetaCareers, not only for seeing all the jobs, but hearing from the perspective of some of our current employees and just learning more about some of the things that we're doing towards diversity in tech, their perspective of working as a full-time employee here at Meta, and just anything you'd be curious about. So that is it. I think we're going to Q&A now.
Thank you, Monique. And just like you said, those are just some of the roles that Meta has currently open. For more of the roles that they are actively recruiting for, please go to metacareers.com. And we want to send a big thank you to all the recruiters who have shared open roles, and to Emily and Kitty for their resume presentation. And so now let's get some answers to some of your questions for the Meta recruiters. We are asking you all to turn back your cameras at this time. I will do my best to direct questions to the individual recruiter, but we'll also leave them open for anyone to answer. So the first one we have here is from an anonymous, and they mentioned, I was hired on a contract worker for Meta. However, the hiring freeze affected the offer. Any tips on how I can stay connected with my Meta recruiter and keep the opportunity open in the future?
I'm actually happy to take this one since I started my journey at Meta as a contingent worker as well, about 2.5 years ago. And one thing that I will say and always recommend, that while you are at Meta, take advantage of those relationships that you're building. Stay in touch with people that you work with. They know the quality of your work the best. When we evaluate opportunities for contingent workers to convert into full-time employees, we take a myriad of different variables into consideration. One obviously being the performance and fit for the team, as well as current business need and open headcount that we have. And while I have seen it time and time again that sometimes it doesn't work out right at the end of your contract, where those people end up coming back as full-time employees, and a lot of the time keeping those connections and those relationships alive and staying in touch is a great opportunity and advantage that you have, since you know how the operation or how the company operates from the inside. So take advantage of those relationships, and the time will come. Again, it has happened many times in the past.
Thank you. The next question we have here is from Gabe Albornoz, and he asked, are there positions at Meta that would be helpful for me to use my bilingual skills?
Yes, I could take that one. I have a program manager role that is open to Spanish speaking, I mentioned for LATAM. So I know that there's several other ones on there, especially in the operations space, because you're working with a lot of different divisions and product work. So yes, there are definitely ones. And again, as I mentioned, you can go on metacareers.com and kind of filter, type in keywords. If you're looking for, you could put in bilingual as a keyword, and that'll typically show you some of the product spaces or, different spaces within Meta that are hiring for those that are bilingual.
Perfect. And Anthony asks, at Meta, do prior applications or interviews at Meta help or affect a candidate when applying for a role at Meta? I've reached the last stage with Meta twice and hoping that may help my next application.
I can take that one if nobody else. You got it, Joe?
Oh, no, go for it.
I was just going to say, I've had some of my candidates interview 3, 4, even 5 times before landing the right role. I can't stress enough that every hiring manager, every team might have a different gap, might have a different need for their team. Don't give up. It does not disqualify you by any means to be considered for another role. You can definitely continue to be considered. It does not truly count against you. So don't stop applying. Continue interviewing. The fact that you've made it to that stage, not once, but twice, is actually quite encouraging. So just keep at it, and the right role, the right team, the right level, the right location will eventually happen.
Thank you. The next question we have here is, any tips for applicants who are pivoting industries? For example, I have traditionally been in the education space, but looking to get into tech.
I can take this one, just specifically around education. So pivoting from other industries, I personally did that as well. I have a very unique background. I started my career in government, then tapped into like the startup world, and then came into Meta. One thing I will stress on as far as like pivoting industries is highlighting your like your skill sets, a lot of your transferable skills. A lot of the roles or like a lot of skill sets are needed regardless of the industry, but a lot of the times it's being able to articulate and then also speaking on those transferable and hard skills. Another thing, as far as like particularly to education, there are roles within Meta that is around the education and training piece. I am personally working on a program manager role that is that deals with a lot of training and creating content for sales teams. So it's a learning program role where you're ultimately just training and teaching internal employees on different learning tools. So there are opportunities available within like the tech industry. It's just a matter of just kind of reading the job descriptions and just seeing where the alignment is, and also just taking those transferable skills from your current role into the role that you're hoping to find.
Thank you. And we have Miguel Portillo ask, what differentiates a strong candidate during the debrief stage of the interview process? What do hiring managers look for after a candidate has completed the final 3 to 4 interviews with the team members?
Happy to take this one. I actually wrote an article recently. It's basically about how to ace your Meta interview, not to self-plug, but I think that the tips in there would be very helpful. I talked through kind of what the typical interview life cycle looks like. It was for our Latinas in Tech conference that recently came up. So if you add me on LinkedIn, you'll see the link on there. I did a recent post about it, but great question around debriefs. I would say like you definitely want to focus on asking a lot of questions during your prep call. Typically, all of the recruiters will offer a prep call prior to your final interview with Meta, as well as an interview prep guide. So that's really your opportunity to really get a better understanding of what they're looking for. As a person, when I was on the other side as an interviewee, I would say I spent a lot of time actually looking at the job description and really understanding like what were those keywords and buzzwords that the hiring manager was looking for, and tried to practice some responses that incorporated some of that and showed my passion and skill and knowledge for that space. So I would say those are a couple of things, but if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about the process, definitely add me on LinkedIn and check out that article.
Sounds good. The next question we have here is, does Meta have a diversity, equity, and inclusion division?
Yes, we do. We do have diversity and inclusion program managers. And they're people that help us put together conferences like this, among many other things that they do. We do have a commitment to making sure that our workplace reflects the community that we serve with our products. And that is translated into a lot of pieces in our recruitment process. So we do have designated teams. All our hiring is also committed to diversity slate approach. We, as obviously on the sourcing side, we make sure that the top of the funnel, that the pipeline that we're generating is diverse and inclusive, again, of everyone that our products serve. We take it very seriously. And we also publish our diversity reports every year, so you can kind of see the progress that we're making. So even if we're not directly working on diversity inclusion program teams, it is a part of our jobs as recruiters. But again, to answer the question, yes, we do have teams that are designated to diversity programs in particular.
Got it. And the next question we have here is, last year I was told that the resumes need to be 1 to 2 pages at Meta. Is that still the case? It's hard to highlight all my project and stats when limited on space.
I can take that one. It's not a requirement by any means, but it is definitely preferred for the resume to be 1 to 2 pages. Think of highlighting the main impact that you've made with your roles. We don't need to see lists of every single thing you've done in every single role. We're looking at hundreds of resumes all the time. So highlight what's eye-catching and what really surfaces how what you've done connects to the role that you're applying to. So I think you can usually do that within 1 to 2 pages, and it's just a little bit easier on the sourcers as well when we're reading through and we're really trying to find the information we need to see to make sure a candidate matches our qualifications.
Got it. Next question we have here is, can you speak on career paths, training, and mentorships within Meta?
I can take that.
Oh, go Kiki, go for it. You go, girl.
As far as career path goes, just being very new in my role and also just being a recruiter internally, I can personally speak that internal mobility is something that we do prioritize. I have had roles, kind of go internal, right? Like the roles would be open for externals, but in the mid of the process, like an internal will apply because that is like their growth trajectory, or that's where their interest lies. And I've seen plenty of times where the roles have gone internal to give that person the opportunity. So as far as growth and growth trajectory, there is like a pathway there. I will say what I always tell candidates when I get this question on calls is, you figure out what your growth looks like and what your path looks like, and Meta will only back you up, right? So if you're coming in, if you're saying, this is where I want to see myself in 2 to 3 years, managers, mentors will help you get to that goal ultimately.
I was going to say, to piggyback on what Kiki had just mentioned as well, Meta employees do have access to career development programs to kind of sharpen up on their skills too, that are at no cost. You can enroll in them. Like if you want to maybe transition into people management, for example, there's courses that you can learn more about that. And then to Kiki's point, there are several mentorship circles. You can get one-on-one mentorship guidance from somebody. Those are all readily available, not specific to your team. They're across the company, where you can tap into those and increase your network as well.
I can add one more line about growth as well. This is something that I like to highlight because I think it's really unique to Meta. So when you're growing here, you can choose to either grow as an individual contributor, or you can choose to grow as a people manager. And you don't necessarily have to get into people management if it's not for you, and you can still grow in the exact same way upward. And this really ensures that our people managers here truly want to be in those roles. And I think, people management's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to do it or should do it. So this really ensures that we're getting the best people managers in place and that you can choose what career or what path you want to grow in, whether that's IC or people management.
Thank you all. Next question we have here is please, regarding your advice of reaching out to the recruiter after applying, what is the preferred method? Email, LinkedIn? What do you all recommend?
I can take that. I would say if you have their email, that's great. LinkedIn, as you can imagine, as a recruiter, your LinkedIn inbox can get a little bit crazy with people reaching out. That's not a bad thing. It's a great problem to have. But I would recommend if you happen to have the email or a more direct form of contact, that would be ideal. If not, then LinkedIn is great. Just sort of sending a quick message, even if it's a message tied to a connection request. With a high level, again, light touch, like I've applied to this role, I'm super interested. Please take a peek at my background. I'd love to hear from you. Keeping it light.
Perfect. The next question we have here, is it better to just apply for a position or be submitted by a current employee?
Ooh, great question. Oh, Emily, you want to get this?
Yeah, I mean, we can both touch on it maybe, but
I think we're both gonna have the same answer, so go for it.
I think it's always nice to have like a soft connection. So if you previously worked with somebody, again, maybe they were like a previous manager or a coworker, that's always the best kind of, I think, route, because you can learn a little bit more about you can only see a mission or a culture of a company from the outside, but if you have that additional referral, you get a lens of what that means lives out in a day-to-day. And also you have an advocate that can speak to your previous experience if you have previously worked with them. So if you can go through that referral channel, definitely advise to do so, but both will hopefully give you that end result of, getting that dream job that you want.
Thank you. And so the last question we have here is, hello, how do you all handle work or life balance at Meta?
I can take that. I definitely will say work-life balance here in my short time has been nothing short of amazing. Leadership, support, just overall balance. There is tons and tons of different benefits that's around work-life balance. We do have different stipends that kind of go towards your wellness. So the way that I use my stipends through wellness, I get massages every month. I do different things, different workout equipment. So all of that is part of the balancing of just overall wellness. But then I also, there's a lot of PTO time. There's a lot of time off. I've been here less than a year and probably have been to 4 different countries since I've been here. And my manager has supported each and every one of them. This is not a culture that's going to ask you to put in your time and they're going to say no. As long as you're doing your job and you have the coverage that you need while you're on, time off, we're all for it. Self-care, 1000% here at Meta.
I would just like to add one more thing. Kiki, thank you for that. That is exactly what I think all of us are thinking. We do have, like Kiki mentioned, a very generous time of policy, and not just that standard PTO time. We have all sorts of leaves that correspond with where we are in our life. Another great, my favorite benefit that we have is what we call global travel days. So wherever you live, you have 20 calendar days to spend working from a different place. The awkward lighting here is because I'm currently in Hawaii and I live in the Bay Area. And I am an immigrant. I'm from a different country. So I get to spend up to a month in my home country working from there because we have that opportunity. So we definitely have a wealth of benefits and resources that again correspond where you are in your life and what you need at the time. We don't work weekends and we log off at nighttime. I personally do.
Thank you so much for sharing. And so we are past the hour mark now and want to be respectful of everyone's time. At HHF, we want to say a big thank you to Meta for taking the time to share best resume practice and going over just a small sample of the roles that they are actively recruiting for. All of Meta open roles can be found at metacareers.com, and we encourage everyone to go check it out. As a reminder, please make sure that we have your resume on file, and make sure to send an updated resume to the link that we will be providing in an email over after the event. So thank you all for joining us, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day.